Hello, I'm Andre J, and today we are going to talk about doing video feedback in OBS. So this is just going to be a quick little tutorial on doing some pretty simple video feedback stuff, just using OBS Studio. The version I'm using here, this is on Windows. 100% positive. I'm gonna get a bunch of comments here saying I can't do this in my OS X version. Why can't I do that? Please show me how to do that. You probably can't do it this exact way on OS X, so that's gonna be kind of rough. If you're interested in learning more about doing video feedback in OBS, I am teaching a class at least once or twice a year through Polyphase Portal. We'll actually go through how to do it on pretty much any operating system. But I'm not going to do that here because it's a lot easier just to do it this way. So yeah, unfortunately, probably does not apply to folks using OS X. Apologies, but you should also just do like a dual boot with Linux or something so you can do normal things on a computer instead of just whatever like Apple thinks, whatever sort of like sandbox bullshit Apple thinks you should be doing. Oh yeah. So, video feedback in OBS. So, what I'm doing here is this is a pretty simple concept here. There's a whole bunch of different ways to do like this kind of like sort of like frame buffer feedback in OBS. And they all just involve some sort of way of like spitting a stream of frames out somewhere else and then ping ponging it back in. So we're using the good old fashioned ping pong buffer technique. And we don't really need to do any coding to do that. Other ways you could do sort of like ping pong buffering would be like NDI, siphon, spout, any kind of third party like virtual webcam thingamajiggy. But the nice thing about OBS, the new versions of OBS, is that they've got virtual camera built right in. So you can see I'm using virtual camera right here. And then I've got video capture device here. Oh, not that one. Is it this one? Yeah, so I'm just using a video capture device to grab the virtual camera as an input. I'm just using all the defaults at the moment. So we've just got three inputs here. We've got this, which is my webcam. We've got this up here, which is just some text I put to show you a couple of things. And then this one over here, which is the feedback channel. So you can see here's the simplest kind of thing you can do to like play around with the feedback is just grab it and move it around. You can see practically speaking, that's not going to be the most useful if you're trying to like make like weird art stuff, because well, I mean, like right now, I'm just literally recording this in another version of OBS. So that means you can see the cursor and you can see like this like bars thing over here. So not the most practical way to do it, but this is how you can do it to kind of set things up. So I just kind of wanted to set things up. So it's like doing this kind of like really smooth, like slit scanning feedback kind of thing. Not really doing anything complex with mixing other than I just took the camera and I'm just like, let's just put it over here. So it's like the most like bare bones wipe pattern you could do is just move the camera halfway off the screen. So that's more or less like the basics. And depending on what other thing you're on, just use like Siphon or NDI or something else like that to like do a similar thing. But let's talk about a couple little fun things we can do with this. So I like to have some text around. The reason for that is you can have something with some nice clean lines and you don't really have to like worry about adding like an extra keyer into anything. And it can kind of like, and I can go into the text here. So let's go into text. Let's add a filter on here. And what I want to do, oh, it's not showing the effects filters, so I'm just gonna tell you what is happening. I'm going, so went here. Okay, so I right click on text here. You can't see that over on this one. Um, I go into filters and I'm gonna add a scroll filter. So the scroll filter just allows you to kind of like have this text move around. And you can see now the text is just going to scroll constantly. And it's just going to scroll on this little like upper area here, I guess, unless I make it larger. Oh wow. That's pretty big. So yeah, we'll have something kind of moving around and we'll kind of like reconfigure this as we try different stuff in the feedback. All right, some other cool things we can do is we can go into this virtual cam. I want to figure out, can I add another window capture here? Let's see. So if I go into here and I open up the filters, I want to see if I can add another window capture on this thing. Um, oh yeah, here we go. So we've got the filters come up here. Boom. Well, that's pretty ridiculous. I don't know how helpful that's going to be. But so if I go into effect filters, is this going to like kind of update what's going on here and I add color correction? Yeah, so we can see that at the very least. So we got color correction happening here. So some very simple things that are good to do with the feedback stuffs is messing around with like brightness, hue, and saturation. So you can see right away doing a tiny little tweak of the brightness gives us that kind of like blowing things out and then bringing it down just a tiny bit. So you can see we're really going down the tiniest amount, and that's going to give it kind of like a fade. It'll trail off a bit. Sometimes we don't really want to be messing around with brightness, so let me just set this back to 0. Let's talk about gamma quickly. Brightness at normal. Oh no, I lost it. Um, oh my gosh, this is chaotic. This is very chaotic. Okay, there we go. And let's see what's going on with this one. The window capture 2. All right, let me try not to close this one out this time. That was very chaotic. Okay, so if we instead go around and like mess around with the gamma a little bit, let's make this a little bit smaller. So gamma sometimes does more what we actually want, like a brightness attenuation to do. You can see we get like a bit more interesting effects when we mess around with the gamma. And we can also kind of use this brightness to kind of pedestal things up a bit or bring the brightness down and then gamma up. And we've got sort of more of a contrast thing happening here. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna leave it kind of like this. So we're getting some weird digital things going on here. I always like it when it gets weird and digital. You can bring up the saturation. And now we're starting to get what looks like some more traditional feedback things going on. This hue shift, and that's where we're going to get the hue cycling, some good old fashioned. And now we're going to get into pretty standard mixer zones right here. And we've got, and with the doing that sort of weird gamma stuff, that's going to make like the dark parts kind of like stand out here. So that's pretty good. Um, Done just a little bit of color correction stuff. Let me see if there's anything else cool in here. Um, yeah, sharpen is the other one that's kind of built in here that can kind of do some interesting stuff, although it gets pretty grungy pretty fast. So the sharpen on this is going to get really, really noisy. And you're gonna have to use like some third-party things if you want to get a good blur involved, because sharpen and blur together is where things get really, really nice. But yeah, so we've got this nice little setup here. Let me just that one. So that's some very basic feedback stuff in OBS. And if I then kind of remove this video capture device, and now we've just got that feedback over there, and we move this text kind of down into the middle, we've got video feedback, OBS video feedback. Really hard to read that, but I can take this other thing and sort of move it around. That's very strange. And you can see when it's matched up kind of perfectly, it makes it really kind of stress out a little bit. I think there might be one more kind of cool thing you can do in here. Bring that filters up again. Um, there we go. And let's see if we can add one more. Scaling aspect ratio. So is there anything in here? Oh, so we can do different kinds of scaling. Oh, well, that's kind of interesting. Resolution. And then let's see what happens if we just do that. Yeah, so we can choose some very basic different resolutions to work with here and use different ways to kind of like mess around with this the remapping. Let's see if that makes things different when we get it bigger. Yes, it certainly does. So the scaling aspect ratio is, I think what it's going to do is give you like a little bit of an extra different ways to like sort of recalculate the each pixel. So you can see that I selected like a different kind of upscaling slash downscaling algorithm. We got like different textures on this already. So that's pretty gnarly. Thought that might be what that does. But yeah, so that's some really basic stuff in terms of doing video feedback in OBS. If you want to find out more about this, you should actually take my full class that I offer through Polyphase Portal. Not really going to be making a ton of videos on this subject for YouTube, or really making a ton of videos for YouTube in general because I'm broke and all of the other things I'm trying to do to make a living aren't really hacking it. So, I gotta say, if you've been frustrated that all my recent YouTube stuff is like promotion for things I'm selling, I'm frustrated about that as well too. But the whole gravy train where like I just make a bunch of money selling video cents and then like have a fuck ton of free time to do like other things where I'm just like doing like edutainment stuff for mine and yours edutainment. That whole gravy train is kind of coming to an end here. So yeah, you should either like buy things for me and or support the Patreon. Otherwise, probably will not be doing too much more of this stuff after this spring. But yeah, check out the class. Go to the link at the bottom, polyphaseportal.xyz. I should be doing at least one or two sessions of that per year. And that'll be sort of an ongoing thing. For anyone who's taken any of my IRL video feedback classes, it's going to be very, very similar to like halfway between like intro to analog signals and like one of the boot camps, where the whole point is going to be kind of like how do you use this technical software that most people just use for mixing video to do all the same kind of like crazy video feedback, video art stuff that we can do with like broadcast gear. So it's going to be pretty gnarly. All right. So yeah, make sure to check that out and or support the Patreon thingy. And as always, have fun.